meeting for the Dougherty County School System. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any presentations or public comments? Thank you for coming, and please state your name.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Board Chair, Board members, and Superintendent Dyer, and our Dougherty County community. My name is Paula McCullough, and I am a proud educator here in Dougherty County City Schools. I would like to commend the board and the district leadership for taking the proactive steps to support our student learning through the implementation of our electronic device policy. The purpose statement of this policy clearly identifies a goal that every educator shares: learning environments that are created where students can focus on instruction, engage with their peers, and maximize academic achievement. As educators, we understand how often personal electronic devices compete with classroom instruction for students' attention. The policy recognizes that limiting access to personal electronic devices can reduce distractions, improve academic outcomes, and increase meaningful interactions among students. These are outcomes we all want for our schools. As implementation approaches, I encourage the district to provide students and families with ongoing education about the purpose behind this policy. When students understand that this initiative is designed to support their success rather than simply restrict behavior, they are more likely to embrace the expectations. I also encourage the district to establish benchmarks for measuring the policy's impact on student engagement, discipline referrals, attendance, and academic performance so that the community can better understand its effectiveness. The handout you will receive provides additional information and follow-up questions for the board to review. Thank you for your commitment to educational excellence and student success. I have another speaker.
Good morning, board chair, board member, Superintendent Dyer, and community stakeholders. My name is Daquan Mack Williams, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. One aspect of the electronic device policy that deserves particular attention is the partnership between schools and families. The policy directs parents to contact the school front office when communication with students is necessary during the instructional day. While this aligns with the goal of reducing distraction, it also creates an opportunity for the district to strengthen communication systems with the families. Many parents have been accustomed to direct communication with their child through personal devices. As its policy is implemented, families will need clear guidance regarding emergency procedures, school communication protocols, and expectations during the school day. I encourage the district to provide parent information sessions, frequently asked questions, and communication materials before the start of the school year. These efforts can help build trust, reduce misunderstandings, and ensure families feel informed and supported. Strong partnerships between schools and families are essential to successful implementation. When everyone understands the process, students benefit from consistent expectations both at home and at school. Thank you for your service and leadership.
Good morning, board chair, board members, Superintendent Dyer, and guests. My name is Chakanya Jones, and I'm honored to speak to you today. The success of this electronic device policy will ultimately depend on consistent implementation across the district. The policy applies to all students from pre-K to 12th grade and includes a broad definition of personal electronic devices, including cell phones, smartwatches, earbuds, tablets, gaming devices, and other technologies. Because of the scope of the policy is extensive, it is important that teachers, administrators, support staff, students, and families all receive consistent guidance regarding expectations and enforcement procedures. I encourage the district to provide comprehensive professional learning for school personnel prior to implementation. Staff members should clearly understand procedures regarding storage expectations, student violations, progressive discipline, documentation requirements, and communication with families. Consistency will help ensure fairness across all schools and reduce confusion among students and staff and parents also. This policy represents a significant shift in practice for many students, providing staff with adequate preparation and support will be critical in its long-term success. Thank you for your commitment to supporting educators and students throughout this transition.
Thank you. So we can rise in team. You got one more? Okay. Said 3.
All right. Good morning, board chair, members, Superintendent Dyer, and members of the community. My name is Kiesia Walker, and I am grateful for the opportunity to address you tonight. As the district prepares to implement the electronic device policy, I would like to highlight the importance of equity and student support. The policy appropriately recognizes exceptions for students whose individualized education program, Section 504 plans, or medical plans to require the use of personal electronic devices. This demonstrates the district's commitment to meeting the unique needs for all learners. As implementation moves forward, I encourage district leaders to ensure that families, teachers, and administrators clearly understand how these accommodations will be addressed and monitored. I also appreciate the policy acknowledges the district is not responsible for lost, stolen, or damaged devices. Because students will continue to bring in devices to school, clear storage procedures and expectations will be important for protecting both students and staff. Finally, I encourage the board to establish opportunities for ongoing stakeholder feedback during the first year of implementation, gathering input from students, parents, educators, and administrators can help identify successes and challenges that allow adjustments that will be needed. Together, we can ensure that this policy supports student achievement while remaining fair, equitable, and effective for many years to come and for all learners. Thank you all for your leadership and dedication to the students of Dougherty County School System. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, board members, and district leaders. I am Jasmine Gilbert, a proud educator here in the Dougherty County School System, and I would like to respectfully share my concerns regarding the decision to outsource the custodial services within our schools. While I understand the need to explore cost-saving measures and operational efficiencies, I do believe that it is important to consider the impact that this decision may have on the overall culture, safety, and trust within our school buildings. Many of our current custodians, they're more than just employees. They are familiar faces who have built relationships with students, parents, administrators, and even families. They know our schools, our routines, and our expectations, and they are a part of our school communities. And as a teacher, my classroom serves as a second home for me. So like many educators, I keep personal belongings, instructional materials, student resources, and just sensitive information in my workspace. And when the custodial services are contracted out, I would just like to know how the vetting process would be used for employees entering our buildings and what background requirements, and I may have missed this at some point since it's already happened, but what background requirements will be in place and how will the district ensure accountability and consistency among workers who may not have long-term ties to our schools? Additionally, since contracted out positions sometimes experience frequent turnovers, how will the district manage the constant flow of new individuals entering our buildings? And how will relationships, trust, and familiarity be maintained with multiple workers that may rotate throughout our schools throughout the school year? And so my concern, as you can see, are not just simply about the cleaning services. They are about the school culture, the safety, and preserving the sense of trust that exists within our educational environments. So I respectfully ask that the board to consider these questions and the potential long-term impact on employees, educators, students, and school communities before moving on with the proposal. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Superintendent, would you like to respond to
Yes,
those
ma'am.
comments?
Thank you for your feedback on the personal device policy. We sent the information out, I think it was earlier this week, if I'm not mistaken, about that, and we'll continue to do that. as we get closer to the school year. And so that went out to all parents via our messaging app, Rooms. Now, Ms. Gilbert, I didn't see where the custodial outsourcing was on the list, was on the topic for discussion. It was just about the cell phone policy. But since you brought it up, I will address it, okay? The outsourcing, we had an extensive conversation about that at the last meeting. You might want to go back and look at the video on YouTube, but I'll give you a summary. No custodians will lose their job as a result of this. You have the same custodians in the building. Those custodians with at least 5 years of service have the option to stay on the Dougherty County School System payroll. Those with less than 5 years of service will go to the contractor's payroll if they choose to stay. The background checks process will remain the same as it would with any other contractor in the Dougherty County School System. If they're going to be in our buildings, they have to get the background checks just like our employees would do. Our minimum wage, we raised the minimum wage in the Dougherty County School System for full-time employees to $15 3 years ago. Because our board made a commitment that nobody that works full-time for the Dougherty County School System needs to work in poverty. We insisted that the contractor keep the same $15 minimum wage. We also provide a suite of benefits, as you're aware of, health, medical, dental, vision, life insurance, long-term disability, short-term disability, the full gamut. And we insisted upon the contractor providing similar benefits. And we review those benefits, and they are comparable to the benefits that the Dougherty County School System has. We have about, out of all the employees we have in our custodial services, about 68 of them have less than 5 years of service. The rest have 5 years or more. And we are in the process right now. We met with them on the 12th of June. The contractor met with them last Thursday, which I think was the 18th. And HR initiated meetings with individual employees with individual sheets to show them what financial impact it will have on them, because the pay is going to stay the same, except the fact they will get their step increase effective July 1st. They'll be entitled to their payout for vacation time up to 30 days, payout for sick leave time up to 30 days, the 403B supplemental retirement plan that we have for them that we contribute 5% to for our custodians. They'll be able to transfer that entire amount to the 401k with the company. So we've done everything we thought we could do to make sure we keep them whole. And also, we committed as best we can to keep them in the same building assignment. Of course, if we have more than we need in some buildings and fewer than we need in other buildings, they may transfer like we do now. We reserve the right to transfer them to buildings based on their needs, but our initial intent is to keep them in the same building that they're in now, so you shouldn't see a change other than maybe a uniform, a difference. But the people should stay the same. Now, as people leave and we replace people, of course, you'll see different people in your buildings just like you would if they were with the Dougherty County School System. The primary issue with this is, as you alluded to, cost savings. If you look at any of our budget presentation for the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen a significant increase in our state health benefit plan. Teachers like yourself and employees who are certified, the state provides us with funding for their health benefits. Because as you might not know, you pay, when I see an increase in health benefits, you started nodding, that your premiums have gone up a little bit since over the last 7 years. You might not know that we pay a match for your employee benefit, for your health insurance. And we pay this, you start in July 1st, we were paying $23,220 per employee. That's in addition to what you pay for your premium. 7 years ago, that was under $11,000. So our employer match has gone up over double over the last 6 or 7 years. And there's no indication that that's going to slow down. When the increases first started, we were paying $4.5 million a year for the employer portion of health insurance. This year, we're looking at paying almost $10 million, $9.9 million in just the employer portion. If we continue to do that, then we'll get to a point where we're not able to afford to provide health insurance. We have to make drastic cuts. So you would think that because the emphasis is on health insurance, that they're not getting health insurance. They are getting health insurance, and it's comparable. It just doesn't cost the private company $23,220 per employee. Why it costs the state, did you go just $23,220 per employee? I can't tell you. I'm not there. And we have no control over that. That's the state health benefits plan. And so since we have no control over how much it costs, we can control who is on it. And so we decided to make a decision. We decided to make the difficult decision and somewhat unpopular decision. You know, that's what we get paid to do, make difficult, unpopular decisions sometimes in the best benefit of, it's in the best interest of the organization. And ultimately, the organization is made up of people. So it's in the best interest of the people of the organization too. And so I hope that gave you some details on the what, the why, and the how. And if you want some more information, feel free to go back and look at the YouTube video, of the previous board meeting. I heard it was well watched. I'll say that. But again, I'm always available. If you need to ask any more questions, feel free to contact Ms. Sanders, and I'll ask you any specific questions that you might have related to that. And I typically don't address topics that were not brought up on the forum, but since I know you're coming in from a good place, I want to make sure I responded. Okay? All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging me and allowing me to do that.
Thank you, sir, for always being ready. Mr. Superintendent, is there anything else you would like to?
And I see one of our recent retirees back there laughing at me because I gotta keep working. Ms. Reese, how you doing today? All right.
Great job. Okay, board members, we'll review. I was wondering if Dr. Finley gonna come.
Yes, ma'am. It's on. I think he's Dr. Finley. I think he's presenting. You're ready to present the. Yes, sir. I think he's ready now.
Yeah, it went up. Dr. Finley, will you take the mic?
Good morning. Good morning. To the esteemed Board of Education, Superintendent Mr. Dyer, district and school leadership, community stakeholders, parents, students. It's a pleasure to come before you today to provide an update regarding our policy process. I'll start with the folder, just to make sure that you can follow. So in the folder, you have a table of contents, which I try to make sure you have one when we're presenting. The table of contents gives you things that are organized within your folder. So today, I want to provide an update on policy section J, which is students. Today, we're bringing before you section J for consideration for the second read and possible adoption. We brought it to you the last board meeting for the first read for section J. I do want to make a note for section J. When you get to within the folder, the second document is the combined chart. Within that combined chart, that provides GSBA's recommendation on the left-hand side, and it provides DCSS's recommendations on the right side. I want to make a note that there's certain policies that are highlighted in yellow as you go through that particular document. Those particular policies we're not bringing before you today for recommendation. Those policies are still under review. So I just want to make sure that when you see the yellow as you're going through that particular chart, those are the policies that we are not bringing before you today within section J for recommendation for adoption. We're still doing some more research and work on those particular policies. All right. In addition to section J, I want to give some updates related to policy GARH, which is employee leaves and absences. There are some updates that we want to bring before you for consideration and possible adoption. We brought this before you with section J, but there have been some updates that we want you all to consider for today. And the third item in there is student attendance and climate protocols. This document, we had to create a committee and protocols connected to student attendance and climate within Dougherty County. This was by law, so we had to make sure we created a committee, and I'll talk more about this particular document as I get towards the end. And I will give an update and feedback related to the electronic policy as relates to the different devices. All right, so with that being said, I will start with my thank yous. I want to always lift our team. Thank you to our teams, our policy owners for all the hard work that they have done for me to be able to bring before you what you have in front of you today. So never take that for granted. It takes collaboration for us to be able to move the work. So I'm gonna give a few updates for Section J. I won't go through all of the policies because there are a lot of them, and I know time is of the essence, but I do want to make sure that I go through some of them. The first policy that I'm gonna give an update on will be policy JAA, Equal Educational Opportunities. And this is a policy that we have, but it's been updated. And this policy is regarding ensuring that we don't allow discrimination within our district, Title VI, Title IX, ADA, 504. So it's updated language that provides protections for that, and also it provides the complaint process if that were to happen. The next policy, I just want to make a note, JCD, which is student conduct. That's a current policy that we have. We are recommending abolishing this policy. And we're going to move that language to student code of conduct, which I'll speak to in a few minutes. Within this policy, it speaks to bullying, but we have a new policy for bullying that we're recommending. So, the next policy, JCDA, which is Student Code of Conduct. This actually is the policy that had the language of bullying that we're moving to the new policy of bullying. And we moved the language from the student conduct, which we're abolishing, JCD, to the Student Code of Conduct. So the language aligns with what the title of the policy is. And we have a bullying policy where the title of the policy is bullying. So if you're looking for the policy, you can find the policy for bullying, where it was hidden. Not hidden, but it was in a place to where our stakeholders will have to do some searching to find it. So now they can see bullying and they can read what the definition is. Our new policy for bullying is JCDAG, and it's updated language from when we accepted GSBA's language related to policy in the process for that. Next policy is JCE, student discrimination. I just want to lift that this policy has been abolished because the first policy I went over, JAA, is prohibiting discrimination. So that language is within there, in addition with the complaint process to follow. And the language is updated, so we don't need this policy. We're recommending that this policy be abolished. We have a new policy. GSBA recommended a new policy for infectious diseases. This is a new policy, policy JGCC, and it speaks to ensuring that training happens every year related to infectious diseases, and also the communication protocols if one of our students, if it's suspected that they may have been infected. The next policy is JGCD, medication. And we have this policy, but the policy has updated language. GSBA recommended language that provides, it includes language for seizures, also for opioids, it includes that additional language that wasn't in our last policy. Also speaks about diabetes in this particular policy. That language wasn't in our current policy. Doesn't mean we don't have procedures in place. I'm just saying the language of the policy. Yeah. The next policy, student data, JRA, student data privacy complaints. I always try to make sure I lift the data privacy policies because they're important, protecting information of our students. And it also provides the complaint process of that has been violated. Student information has been violated and used in the wrong way. And the last one I'll go over will be the Parent Bill of Rights. This policy provides in list form the rights of parents within the document. Right to records, right to review instructional materials, and a number of other rights within this particular document. So that's JRB, Parents Bill of Rights. So those are a number of highlights within this policy section. Again, not going to go through all of them, but definitely wanted to lift a number of them. And also, I just want to remind again, the policies in your chart are highlighted in yellow. Just a reminder that those policies we're not bringing before you for adoption. We're still working on those particular policies. So I'll stop there for questions with Section J at this point.
Any board members have any questions at this time for Dr.?
I don't have a question, Madam Chair. I
Okay.
just want to clarify for the members of the public. Dr. Finley went through a lot of policies, and that's not even half of the ones that are in the manual for this section. But for those who were not at the last meeting, this is not the first time they're hearing it. He presented this at the last meeting at the first read. Give board members time to review before this meeting, so he's going over a few highlights of the ones that he thought were the most important, or maybe some new ones. But they've seen these policies, had opportunity to read them and ask questions if they had them. So it's not like he's asking them to review all these policies and pass them the first time they see them. Just so you know that. Go ahead, Dr. Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Now I want to talk about the electronic device policy.
Hold on, Dr. Finley.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before you transition in that part, just for my knowing, the last policy, JS, where it says student fees, fines, and charges, I noticed that it is being abolished, and the matter is going to be left up to the administrators in the building. Will that be some consistency across the board, or?
Yeah, so when meeting with our policy owners, a question I always ask if something is being abolished is if it's information that is extremely important, where is that gonna live? So our next, as I go around and bother everybody again, it's gonna be about handbooks and regulations.
Okay.
So like, just because information may be pulled out doesn't mean it's not gonna live somewhere else. And that's the question I'm asking when I meet with them. If they say, hey, we recommend for this to be abolished, when I read through it, I'm like, okay, well, this is, it may be procedural, it may not need to be in a policy, because the policy is the broad what, and the regulations, procedures, that's the how. So if we are too much how in the policy and, through Mr. Dyer's leadership, if we agree that, hey, that can live in their procedures manual or their handbook or a regulation, then that's, how we move. But following back up to ensure that that happens is what definitely the next level of work. So I hope I answers your question. It will live in a handbook.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that would be consistency. I
Across
mean,
the board.
across the board with whatever the penalty is. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other board members have any questions? Dr. Hand, you're good? Ms. Melissa? Ms. Hutley? Okay. Thank you, sir. You can carry on. Thank you.
All right, so policy JCDAF, that's the use of electronic devices for students. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to our stakeholders who came and presented about electronic device policy. And the intent is to ensure that our students can learn in a distraction-free environment as much as we can make it that. So we sent out the electronic device policy through our parent app. And also we've communicated it and shared it with our school leaders. But in addition to that, what we're doing, we're meeting with leaders and staff to get feedback around the regulations. So a set of regulations have been created. However, we want to make sure we get the proper feedback before we push those out for implementation. Because what we don't want to do is not get the proper feedback. And then when they get it, they're like, who did they talk? Did they talk to anybody, you know, who has to implement this? It's easy to sit behind a desk and write policy. You know, I could sit, I could, Mr. Dow wouldn't let it happen, but I could sit behind my desk and write policy all day. But it wouldn't mean anything because I haven't connected with the people who has to actually implement it. Where we are in the process right now is meeting and getting feedback on the regulations that have been drafted to ensure that they've had a chance to give feedback and we make adjustments so that when it does go out, you know, it's familiar and we've worked through some of the kinks that they may see as it relates to implementation of the policy. As it relates to storage, schools will have to provide to us their storage method, and it have to be approved as it relates to what method that is. And the reason for that is because every school is different. So some schools can utilize lockers because they have lockers if they're saying that's their storage method. Some schools may have pouches if that's their method. Some schools may be comfortable with, hey, students keep it on your person, just don't have it out. That's their storage method. So we will receive what the school's method of storage looks like for approval. And that's the storage piece. We couldn't just across the board say do this because every school looks different and they may have different things that they could utilize for storage. So I know that's something that will definitely be in the regulations around what that looks like and how it works. But right now, that's where we are as we're having that discussion around storage.
Any questions? My only question is, will we receive that information? Because we're gonna be the first line of phone calls. And if we have a database that we can look and see, Raynham Elementary School, this is their storage space. So we can have that information and we can acknowledge when those parents start calling as of last week.
And also, we sent out a frequently asked questions with the policy as well. So we want to ensure that common questions that may come up, you know, you have at the fingertips something there to
A quick guide on the front of the marketing page that they can click on and see what their children information is, what schools their store. Any other questions? Okay. Everyone.
Pre-K, yeah, pre-K.
Pre-K too. You'll be surprised how many pre-K kids have cell phones.
Well, they did pass. They did pass.
Dr. Philly and
Yeah, so the next document in your packet is policy JARH. JARH, and this is the employee leaves and absences policy. That's the third document in your packet. So that's not connected to the
G-A.
Oh, G. I'm sorry. GARH. Yes, employee leaves and absences. And this policy you've reviewed before. but we had some slight adjustments that we're recommending for this policy. If you, under the personal leave section, in this policy, the adjustment, we used to have different policies for different types of leave. So, your sick leave may be here, vacation may be, we used to have, the adjustment was, GSBA recommended a combined policy. So we put all of the leave in policies in one policy, and you can, go down and see which one you're referring to or you're looking for. So military leave, personal leave, professional leave, it's all in GARH. What we needed to make sure that we update and add to this particular policy was the vacation accrual and buyback for 12-month employees. So this is a policy that it was within a policy that we had already, but we wanted to ensure that it made sense to go in this particular policy because this is where all the leave information is at. So it's the vacation accrual and buyback. I have it highlighted in yellow so you can see it quickly. In addition to that, the personal leave, as you know, was increased from 3 to 5 days. So we wanted to make sure we updated the numbers related to personal leave. So in personal leave, right above where vacation accrual and buyback, you'll see highlighted 5. We went from 3 to 5 as it relates to personal leave. Those are the major adjustments for this particular policy. Are there any questions?
And that was adopted passed by the state legislature to 5 days. So our policy had been 3, so we adjusted it to 5 to make it consistent with state law.
Any questions?
It comes out of sick leave.
Any questions for Dr. Finley or Mr. Superintendent? Okay, hearing none.
So the last document in your folder is the attendance committee, attendance and climate committee protocols. And what you'll see on this document, I'm sorry, I'm pulling my stuff up. We had to create a team in Dougherty County, not just our school system, a team with the purpose of trying to decrease truancy and absenteeism. And that's a collaborative effort, and it also takes coordination of services across our district. So within the protocols, what you'll see is it's based heavily on prevention strategies, and prevention and intervention. So we're trying to prevent through our MTSS process, tier one practices and interventions for all, tier 2, tier 3, which is, it intensifies as as you get to tier 2, tier 3, the supports intensify. But also through the court system, they have their prevention pathway, CHINS, which is children in need of services. So that's before any petition or complaint moves forward. They try to work with us and work with that family to wrap around and provide supports. So it supports school-based, supports, but even if it gets to the court before they go into any complaint or petition, the goal is intervention and trying to wrap services and supports around families to get kids in school. Also in this document, you'll see in the protocols that we have listed what examples of tier 1 supports, tier 2 supports, tier 3 supports. That's listed within the document. Also, you will see the members who serve within the committee that we have. And there's a number of stakeholders coming together, and we have to meet at least twice a year for the purpose of getting kids in school, supporting families. And the last option, I want to make sure I lift this, the last option is judicial. That's the last option. We try everything we can. That's why we're working proactively to try to implement interventions and use prevention strategies so that we won't get there. So that's what this document is. That's what this document is. And I want to make sure that I also lift Chief Judge Denise Marshall. She is the person who convenes and leads this team. So it's a collaboration, and Ms. Kennedy, she also plays a role within this as it relates to coordination and making sure that we have our meetings established and our agendas, and a lot of work went into creating the protocols. So with that being said, I'll open it up for questions.
Sure.
Mr. Superintendent?
And just so you folks wondering, why is the Chief Superior Court judge calling a meeting of the school system? This was a state law that was passed in the 25 legislative session that required each community to come up with a school climate and a student attendance protocol. And because it requires community effort, not just a school system effort, the state law specifically said it had to be chaired by the Chief Superior Court judge. And had other community members who were responsible for being on that committee. So that's why it was a community-wide committee, not just a school system committee.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
And they had to meet at least twice. They met more than twice, much more than twice.
Any other questions about the student attendance and school climate protocol? Okay.
And just before I take my seat, with the protocol, we are bringing before you for recommendation for adoption through Mr. Dyer.
Yeah, it's presented for discussion. If the board's comfortable with it, we would like to move it up to item 6C for adoption. So we can go ahead and get it submitted to the state.
Is there a deadline for this to be
It's
submitted?
we could have done it as early as June, but we want to go ahead and get it done now, if the board is okay with moving it up.
Board members, okay, moving this to 6C? Hearing none, okay, we'll add that to at 6C, Ms. Rhonda.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, again. Okay. Reviewing the agenda. Board members will review the agenda items to give board members the opportunity to ask questions or make comments. We will have an executive session to discuss personnel and superintendent evaluation. As we go down, I didn't want Dr. Finley have to get up twice to do his report. That's why I asked you to come up at one time. I didn't want to play Jack in the Box today. Board members, do you have any questions or comments about the agenda? For item 1, minutes for the regular board meetings held June 11th. Hearing none. Item 2, consideration recommendation of employment of personnel. Everybody quiet today. Item 3, consideration recommendation of release of personnel. Any questions? Item 4, consideration recommendation to approve warehouse restock of custodial supplies. Any questions? Consideration recommendation for approval out-of-state field trip. I think Dr. Finley did a great job to explain the recommendation of adopted policies, but any questions? Okay. Item 7, defiance report. Okay. Any committee reports? Okay, Mr. Dyer, are you ready for your report?
Yes, ma'am, I think we are. Okay. All right. Superintendent's report for June 25th, 2026. Vision of the Dougherty County School System is that we're a destination school system that in collaboration with families and community partners provides quality education and social development experiences that equip and empowers graduates to be successful and impactful contributors to society. Our mission is to meet the academic and non-academic needs of our students with rigorous and relevant educational experiences that equip them to succeed in life. We go over policy revisions, updates. That was going to be part of my report. Dr. Finley did a great job. No need to do that. A strategic plan update on priority 2. I'll go over our legislative update, focusing in on the special legislative session. And our chair asked me to talk about some of our things we were satisfied with the session and the things that we were disappointed in. And I explained to her, I don't really have any disappointments. We'll categorize them as missed opportunities. So we'll talk about a couple of missed opportunities that we saw as that we also talk about a reorganization and celebrations and announcements. Of course, our strategic plan has 5 priority areas: early literacy, academic rigor and relevance, student wellness, investment in human capital, family community engagement. And Dr. Finley did a great job at the last meeting to discuss our update on our strategic plan and the tool that we use inside of Assembly, and the fact that we're looking at a tool to provide a public-facing dashboard for the public to be able to track our progress toward our strategic plan priorities. You'll see also our core beliefs, our strategic priorities, our vision and mission, and this poster that'll be in all of our schools beginning in the fall. And you've seen this before. He who starts behind in the great race of life must forever remain behind or run faster than the man ahead. That's by Benjamin E. Mays. And that's what we look at. You know, for historically, the Dougherty County school system has lagged behind the state average in most academic achievement areas. And so we're going to discuss that a little later as part of the missed opportunities. But as you see, as we went for our charter renewal process, is every 5 years. And so the state board reviews our academic progress data to ensure that that we've used the charter flexibility to outpace the state in terms of growth, academic growth. And if not, then your charter is subject to not be renewed. I'm glad to say our charter was renewed unanimously by the state board. It was placed on the consent agenda for no discussion after the committee looked at our academic data. And you'll see overall, in terms of our content areas, both all 3 elementary schools, middle school, and high school, all 3 grade bands, our content mastery increased overall by 8.6 points, 3.9 in middle school and 11.7 in high school. You look at in both ELA and math, and then in literacy. And in each of those categories, we outpaced the state's growth in those areas. And because of that, we were placed on the consent agenda, and our charter was renewed for another 5 years. So thank you to schools who do a wonderful job using the flexibility provided to meet the unique needs of our students and showing that we are running faster than the person ahead so that we'll close that gap, eliminate that gap eventually, and then the state will be trying to catch up with us eventually. So that's our plan. In addition, you'll see with academic rigor and relevance, if you look at the number of high school graduates that we have every year, and we talk about several things with that. One is the relevance piece. And so this is reflecting the number of students who participate in the accelerated career program. I should have had that slide up there. And that's the program where students can take an abbreviated set of traditional high school courses, then go to the technical college and complete 2 technical college certificates of credit programs, 1 technical college diploma program or the associate degree program, and earn the high school diploma and can exit in as early as 3 years. We also provide work-based learning opportunities with job-embedded skills opportunities for our students. And then our dual enrollment overall, as you see, from FY 23 to 25, it's gone up significantly. I should have had the numbers on there. It was going from 300 to over 500, over 600, I'm sorry, over the course of 3 years. And that's been a significant increase. And it's been a driver of Auburn and Tech dual enrollment. So that's an opportunity for students not only to earn high school credits, but also college credits, dual enrollment. And that's in part through our Connected to Careers program, our College and Career Academy, the dual enrollment efforts through our high schools and through our CCA department. And you saw the growth in both dual enrollment and Connected to Careers, but we still have an opportunity for more coordination. We've been in discussions with the City of Albany for internship opportunities there as they look at the talent pipeline. We had a discussion with Phoebe to expand the talent pipeline initiatives that we have with them through 4CA. So what we've, as we discussed in our budget here, is that the board approved establishing the Office of Student Career Services. So it's going to be focused on the 4 E's, enrollment into a higher post-secondary entity, employment in a high demand, high wage career field, enlistment into the military service, or entrepreneurship. So those are the 4 E's we're going to focus on. You may have heard the 4 E's mentioned at a chamber event a few years ago from a Monroe student. And we said we were working on that, and now we're ready to launch that. And so that'll coordinate, allow those efforts that you were seeing through work-based learning, CTAE, the initiatives with Phoebe, the initiatives with the City of Albany, initiatives with the other employers that have engaged with as we just had a program with Websteront and a few others. So we're going to put all that under one umbrella so we can coordinate those efforts to make sure that we're not providing more resources in one place where it's not needed, and fewer resources and creating gaps where they are needed. So this will be an office to coordinate a lot of that work. Of course, they'll do it in conjunction with CTA 4C to be led by a staff member under the leadership of Mr. Davis, Deputy Superintendent. Beating the yards. Georgia's beating the yards analysis is developed by the Governor's Office of Student Achievement, and it recognizes schools that outperform expectations based on demographic characteristics and the different demographics and characteristics of students they serve. So rather than comparing schools solely on achievement outcomes, this analysis uses a statistical model to predict expected performance and then compares actual results to those expectations. And these expectations and the statistical model is developed by the Governor's Office of Student Achievement. And so they have different ranges of designations, beating the yards, within expected range or below range. The designations highlight schools that are demonstrating exceptional effectiveness in supporting students despite challenges often associated with poverty, mobility, and other demographic factors that are beyond the school's control. Beating the yards provides valuable insight into school performance by identifying schools that are achieving stronger than expected outcomes and can serve as models for effective practices. If you look at Dougherty County's beating the yards designations, in 2019, the year before COVID, we had 5 schools beating the yards, 11 within expected range, and 5 below expected range. In 2024, the first time they captured the data since COVID, we had 10 beating the yards, 9 within expected range, and 2 below expected range. And in 2025, you see 11 within expected range, 11 beating the yards, 6 within expected range, and 3 below expected range. So the number of schools beating the yards are certainly increasing. And just to take a look at that, what does that mean? When you look at the state beating the yards for 2024, the number of schools in the state analysis, 32% of schools in the state beat the yards, 39% were within expected range, and about 29% were below expected range. When you look at Dougherty County School System in 2024, we had almost 48% beating the yards, 43% within expected range, and 9.5% below expected range. Look at 2025, the state had about 31.5% of schools beat the yards, where Dougherty County School System had 55% beating the yards. Within expected range, the state was about 30%. We also had 30%. And then below expected range, the state was almost at 40% of schools in the state below expected range, and we were at 15%, only 15% below expected range. So when you look at comparing schools to their peers, we're certainly doing well when compared to that. And this is an apples-to-apples comparison. As you know, there are demographic factors that impact school achievement, and we'll discuss those a little later. But overall, when you look at the schools that beat the odds, the analysis that's performed by the Governor's Office of Student Achievement Dougherty County School System is performing quite well. Finally, we're going to talk about organizational restructuring. We mentioned the Office of Student Career Services. We have other organizational restructuring as we look at changes in operations and as people depart. We always look at, we reassess periodically on the best structure to implement our strategic plan most effectively. And so as we look at our strategic plan and the implementation that's required, we're going to look at our structure and come back with recommendations for you at a subsequent meeting in July. Last section is our legislative update. We look at our legislative priorities, of course, expansion of early learning opportunities. We really want to push pre-K 3. You know that the birth rate is declining, and we look at early opportunities for formal education is one of the things that helps prepare students better with a stronger foundation. Our pre-K program is one of the best in the state, and so we want to include, want to advocate for a pre-K 3 program, so we get 3-year-olds to get in a little earlier to create that foundation, build that foundation a little earlier. Of course, we added a QBE. We wanted to add a poverty rate for economically disadvantaged students. State health benefit plan for non-certified staff. Of course, we advocated that the state, in 2000 through 2012, the state picked up 25% of the cost for classified employees. They stopped doing that in 2012. We asked the state to pick that back up to offset the rising cost of state health care. They chose not to do so. I know they have a lot of priorities up there and a lot of funding requests, so they were not able to do that. They did not do that, so we took actions to offset the cost that we bear. And then, of course, the teacher pipeline, several components of the teacher pipeline, expanding the apprenticeship programs, extending what was House Bill 385, which is now Senate Bill 150, that allow retirees to come back to work full time. And we also asked them to extend the teacher pay scale beyond step 21, because right now pay scale stops at step 21. So our veteran teachers, who are some of our most valuable in the building, don't get pay increases after about year 21, and unless the state increases the teacher pay scale, but they don't get step increases. So I think that sends the wrong message to our veteran educators. And so we asked them to do that. They did not pass that. They did establish a study committee to look at that for a future legislative session. And we hope that future legislative session is the next session. And we're going to work toward making that happen.
And I'm sure they'll call you to come speak.
If they don't, I'll come speak anyway. You know me. Then an update on the special session. It covered, it was a special session that just adjourned. Yes, ma'am, they could have. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. And we claiming that. The legislative session, the special session, looked at 3 things in big buckets: election administration. You may have heard about the QR codes. There was a bill that was passed to eliminate using QR codes in elections. It was supposed to be effective July 2026. There was no mechanism in place to implement that, so they voted to delay that to implementation starting July 2028. I think, if I'm not mistaken, or January 2028. Redistricting, again, that was with the Supreme Court ruling about redistricting. That was taken up. Of course, it was not acted upon. And then tax relief, gas tax suspension, and homestead properties. We'll go over those all very quickly. What passed? The QR code deadline extension did pass, from July 2026 to January 2028. And it also added a provision that wasn't in there previously about when a margin of victory is within 0.5%, establish hand recounts for those. The gas tax suspension, Governor Kemp had already implemented a gas tax suspension. The state has to ratify that executive order, and they did so. Now, I think it's already expired. It was not renewed, but this was for the one that was already put in place, and the state had to ratify that, so they voted to ratify it. What failed? Again, redistricting failed. It did not move forward. There's some talk about coming back again after the November election to do it, so we'll keep an eye on that. Then the property tax, sales tax swap, that started out as House Bill 1166, that ended 1116 rather, ended up being Senate Bill 33. That was originally a hemp bill. That ended up being a property tax bill. There were some things that the Republican Party submitted several proposals to eliminate property taxes, but did not pass. What was required, as you know, we talked about at the last during the last regular session, in the regular session, that that Senate Bill 33 was introduced rather the last day of the session, and I think it got to the House probably an hour before midnight, and there was a component missing. If you're going to replace property tax with sales tax, it has to be a local referendum, a constitutional referendum, and that requires 2/3 vote of the legislature. And they failed to do that during the regular session, so they called a special session and included that as part of the special session. And they failed to get, there were several votes, I think at least 9 votes, and each time they failed to get the required 2/3 majority. So as of right now, that part of Senate Bill 33, implementing the air host, is not moving forward. That's not going to impact us because you see in the second bullet, although it created a 1% local sales tax to offset homestead property taxes, school systems were not allowed to participate in that, only cities and counties, city and county governments. The thing that it does stay in place, the mandatory inflation caps. As you know, with House Bill 581, we opted out of that as a school system with the inflation caps on local assessments. With Senate Bill 33, the opt-out provision no longer applies, so no one can opt out. And if you did opt out of House Bill 581, they opted you back in. And so we're subject, so our local assessments are capped at 3%, and that's to protect homeowners and property tax payers. And I can understand that, but in communities like Dougherty County, you know, the case we made was we reduced our millage rate 8 years in a row. And so I think the people who are best positioned to make decisions about those local matters are local elected officials. Of course, that's not the case across the state. Some people do raise taxes, and some people think they raise them excessively, and that's gotten the ear of the legislature. And so they came up with these laws, and so now we're subject to that as well. I don't know if it's going to impact us because we always look at ways to reduce costs before raising taxes. But it comes a time where you might have to raise more than 3%, and we will be restricted from doing that based on this law. We're not there yet. We never know what the future holds. So we want to maintain that flexibility to be able to increase if we needed to. Although history said that we were not going to show that we're not going to do it indiscriminately. However, that's where we are. We're still subject to the 3% cap. L host is no longer there, and that's where we are with that. What stays the same currently remains intact. The air host timeline, again, is not going to be voted on because the earliest local air host can be voted on was November 27th now, but I don't know if that's going to happen because they didn't pass the by 2/3 majority. And then the existing property taxes like the floss that was included with House Bill 581 that allows cities and counties, again, just cities and counties, not school systems, to offset property tax reductions. Property taxes with a sales tax, floating local option sales tax, it remains unchanged. Although again, that does not impact school systems because we're not allowed to participate in that. Again, the local referendums fail, so there's no way to offset property taxes with sales tax without the provision of a local referendum. And then because of that, immediate implementation of the L host is not possible. Now, Madam Chair asked me to talk about what we were excited about, what we were disappointed in with the legislative session. And I told her I don't like to use the word excited and disappointed. I try to be an even keel, but I do see some missed opportunities in the legislative session that we'll continue to push forward and advocate for. And we'll talk about it again, GOSA, the case for adding the poverty rate. That's one of our legislative priorities that's been for a while. During the 25 session, there were 2 bills introduced, one in the House, one in the Senate, to add a poverty rate to QBE. The one in the House was co-sponsored by Senator Green, House Representative Gerald Green, Republican, and part of our local delegation. After we made our presentation to him and the local delegation at our legislative priority session, and it was another one was co-sponsored in the Senate by Senator Freddie Powell Sims. Of course, you know, she's a Democrat, so it was a bipartisan issue. It also has support Speaker Burns, and House Chair, Education Committee Chair Chris Irvin. And this legislative session, there was a bill introduced in the Senate to add a poverty rate. None of the bills, the ones in the House and the Senate last year, or the one from the Senate this year, they never got out of committee. I did have an opportunity to present to us the State Ways and Means Committee on this again, without being, whether I'm invited or not. If I see an opportunity to speak on something, I want to speak on it if it's good for children. And so, so we did present some of this data to them. And it did, although it did not, the committee did not vote to add it to the bill. There is significant chatter about it. And so we're going to continue to advocate for this through the legislative process and meet with state reps and state senators to show them this data and other leaders throughout the state. And hopefully they'll see the need for this. GOSA, Governor's Office of Student Achievement, has on his website that research indicates student poverty is closely linked to student achievement. And I say that is true, but I also say it doesn't have to be. If you look at this platter map, you'll see on the left side, you'll see ELA proficiency at 3rd grade from 0 to 100. And at the bottom, you'll see from left to right, you'll see the percentage of DC students. Those are direct search students. Those are students whose family those are students who come from families who are part of families that qualify for government assistance, SNAP, TANF, things of that nature. And as you see, the lower percentage of direct search students, the lower the number of percentage of students in poverty, the higher their ELA proficiency is at 3rd grade. As you go down to the right, where you have a higher percentage of DC, the direct search students, you'll see a lower proficiency at 3rd grade. That's not Dougherty County data, that's statewide data. And I challenge you, if you look at national data, you'll see the same thing. And we can talk about why. Does that mean that students who live in poverty can't learn? It certainly does not. It does mean they need additional supports. And our QBE formula does not provide additional support for students in poverty. That's why we've been advocating for a poverty rate in our QBE formula to give these students a real fighting chance. Similarly, the GOSA website highlights the profound impact poverty can have on literacy development. It notes that schools with the highest poverty levels have historically demonstrated both literacy and ELA proficiency rates below 20%, while schools with lower poverty rates have achieved rates approaching 70%. So you heard about the push for literacy reform in Georgia, and that's certainly needed. But when you hear it, they talk about the fact that 30% of the kids and 30 to 35% of the students in Georgia in 3rd grade are not reading on grade level. But students who are in high poverty, coming from high poverty households, only about 15% read on grade level. So it was concerning that a third overall are not reading on grade level. Then what is it when 85% of a certain group are not reading on grade level? That's a full-blown crisis, in my opinion. And that's why we're advocating for it, and that's why we're going to continue to advocate for it. And that shows, this shows an 8-year longitudinal study, results of an 8-year study, or 8 years of data. And the top line shows the achievement, both ELA and literacy proficiency at 3rd grade. And you see 2015 is around 60% 5% for students. The top bar was just low concentration of poverty schools. Tips up to over 70% back in 2019. After COVID, it dropped a little bit, and it's hovering around 70%. The bottom line, the red line is dotted. That's the achievement for students in high poverty schools, the highest direct cert schools. You'll see consistently under 20%, hovering around 15%. That's over an 8-year period. So it's not just a blip on the radar. That's a cycle. And we need to break that cycle. Additionally, if you heard me say this once, you've heard me say it several times with the Promise Scholarship Act. Those students of the schools who are on that list in the bottom 25%, 87% of those schools serve a student body where at least half of those students are part of families that receive government assistance. 87% of the schools in the bottom 25% of performance in the state of Georgia come from schools. I have a student population where at least half of their students come from families that get government assistance. That's not a coincidence. The data from the Governor's Office of Student Achievement shows you that's been the case for over 8 years. Yet we still don't have a poverty weight in our funding formula. In general, students in poverty require more support, academic, emotional, physical, than students who are not in poverty. High poverty schools face more costs, more complex needs, and a flat funding formula really is not the way to do it. And despite increasing educational funding, Georgia remains one of only 6 states, along with Alaska, Florida, Idaho, South Dakota, and West Virginia, that does not provide additional funding for students in poverty. There was a bill introduced, 2 bills introduced in the 25 session, 1 bill introduced in the 26 session that we advocated for. They never got out of committee. We did get a pilot funding for this school year at 5% above base funding for school systems that had at least 40% of their students in poverty. And that's a good start, a very good start. But just to make sure we understand, the average for the 44 states that provide a funding weight is 22% above base funding. And that pilot was not renewed in its last legislative session, so it was 1 year at 5%. And my position on that has been the funding has to be sufficient enough to make an impact. Has to be sustainable. Meaning it needs to be in the funding formula, not a 1-year grant, because there's not much you can do in 1 year that's going to be sustainable. And it has to be predictable, meaning it needs to be a formula so we'll know how much we can, as we plan for outlying years, we can project how much we're going to get so we can plan for it. So it has to be sufficient, it has to be sustainable, and it has to be predictable. And the pilot, although it was a good first step, it was not any of those things. And so we're going to continue to advocate for a sufficient, sustainable, and predictable funding model for a poverty weight in our QBE. And why? Well, and speaking to some legislators, they say, hey, throwing money at the problem is not necessarily the answer. So how do we know that's going to work? And this our board, for those that don't know, they're ahead of the time in a lot of cases. So they authorize us to spend to make strategic investments, using our reserves strategically to provide more funding for 3 of our highest poverty, traditionally lowest performing schools who are all either currently federally identified, or one was currently identified federally, and the other 2 have been federally identified. Alice Coachman, Robert Harvey, and Turner Elementary. So we're going to show you from a 4-year initiative the results. So in addition to funding from community organizations like Communities in Schools, partnership with Communities in Schools, Minority Community Outreach, and the DOE with some funding, where we didn't have the funding we needed, we self-funded a 4-year initiative, provided targeted support to 3 of our highest poverty, low-performing elementary schools, resulting in student improvement effort with compelling evidence that strategic investments can significantly change academic trajectories in high poverty schools. Alice Coachman, overall content mastery, went from 24.1 to 39.4 over 4 years, a 15-point increase. Robert Harvey from 31.5 to 53, a 21, almost 22%, a 2-point increase. And Turley Elementary School from 31 to a 46, a 15.4% increase in content mastery. In English content mastery specifically, there's an 11-point increase at Alice Coachman from 20.5 to 31.5. From Robert Harvey, almost 29 to over 40, at 11.5% increase in Turner from 28 to almost 42, a 13.15% point increase in ELA content mastery. Math, you'll see even greater results from 26.5 to 42.75, over 16, almost 16 1/3 point increase at Robert Harvey, from slightly under 33 to almost 61, a whopping 28.15 point increase in content mastery in math, and Turner from 31 to almost 50, 18.8% increase, point increase in achievement. All because we provided targeted support resources to help those students who are in poverty. And these are some of the highest poverty schools in Dougherty County. And then this is the most compelling data when you look at literacy. From 22 to 25, Alice Coachman went from under 14% on grade level to over 46%, a 32.25 point increase. Robert Harvey from 22% to almost 55%, a 32 point increase. And Turner went from under 14% to almost 63%, a 49-point increase in literacy, all because we took funding, targeted funding, and provided additional support for the students in poverty with after-school programs, additional instructional support staff to meet the needs of those students. With our grants, with the school-based mental health grant, we were able to provide social workers to address some of those structural issues with the family to help support the students. So and as we said before, I'm gonna go back, I should have added a slide. If I've been thinking about it, I would have. Research, this is on the Governor's Office of Student Achievement website. Research indicates student poverty is closely linked to student achievement. And I said, that's right, it is. But I also said it doesn't have to be. And the data that we just showed proves that it doesn't have to be closely linked. All right, so what we're proposing is to use the eligibility guidelines for the FY26 pilot to provide at least 25% above base funding for school systems with a direct cert rate of at least 40%. Then provide an additional 15% above base funding for those school systems with a direct cert rate of 60%, because high poverty has an impact on student achievement. Concentrated poverty has an impact on schools and school systems, because we have 5% of our students in poverty. We may be able to reallocate some resources to meet the needs of those 5%. But in Dougherty County school system case, 69.06% of our students, over 2/3 of our students, come from families that get government assistance. We don't have enough resources to reallocate to meet the needs of 2/3 of our student population. We did it with 3 schools. We have at least 7 elementary schools that have similar characteristics in terms of demographics as those schools. There are not enough resources to make it sufficient. Now, could we have taken those same resources and spread them out across all the schools? Yes, but the funding wouldn't have been sufficient to make the impact. That's why we settled on 3. And so, and based on the eligibility guidelines from the FY26 pilot, we estimate it'll be between $75 and $100 million that will be needed to fund at these 2 levels, and it can be funded similar to the funding that we have for the safety grants. And when you're talking about a budget of $30 billion plus, I think we could probably find $75 to $100 million to meet the needs of some of our most vulnerable students. Okay, that's one missed opportunity.
We understand.
All right, and
Your passion.
the second missed opportunity was the local was the property tax, homestead property tax relief. Was passed in Senate Bill 33. I don't know if it's going to move forward at all now. And I'm not going to get into the debate whether it's a regressive tax or a progressive tax, because that's a debate that's going to happen in the legislature. But since it passed, we had a missed opportunity to include school systems in the tax relief. I'm not getting into the debate on whether it's appropriate, whether the bill is a good bill or not a good bill in concept. I am saying this: it passed. And I put House Bill 1116 because the communication I sent was still House Bill 1116. So this is part of what I sent to some legislators about about advocating for including school systems. Leaving school systems out, but adding school systems including school systems would have provided another $389 million in property tax relief. This is based on information that we got from the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, and we did our own analysis using that. And so another $389 million in property tax relief would have benefited homestead property owners across over 100 counties out of 159 counties. Homestead property owners in 51 counties would have experienced at least 70% relief offset in their property taxes. And homestead property owners in 17 of those counties would have experienced 100% relief, 100% offset to their property taxes. In Dougherty County, ours, based on this 2024 property tax data, we would have been about 94% offset. With deflation the way it is, and sales tax revenue increasing, we probably would have been close to the 100%. By contrast, limiting it to just cities and counties, we leave $389 million of potential homestead property tax relief untapped, with the maximum relief for any county in the state being 68%. And like I said in the data before, 51 counties, if we had included school systems in this tax relief, 51 would have had over 70% relief, with 17 being at 100%. The cap without including school systems was only at 68%, and that was one county at 68%. The rest were lower. Also, and I'm sure this was an unintended consequence, but when you look at the tax bill, you'll see how much property tax is charged by the city, by the county, and by the school system. I mentioned earlier that we have reduced our millage rate 8 years in a row. One of the few school systems in the state of Georgia that have been able to do that and maintain a very healthy reserve. But when you look at the tax bill, if this comes into place and the city will be able to offset 100% of their homestead property tax, the county will be able to eliminate, offset 100% of their homestead property tax. So when you see your tax bill, you'll see zero property tax, homestead property tax from the city and the county, and the state and the school system will remain the same. We'll probably go lower because we do lower our taxes just about every year. But it would appear that we're the ones overtaxed, when really we're the ones that have reduced our tax rate for 8 years in a row. And so it's not that we're not being responsible and we don't, with our taxing burden, he said we've been left out of the relief framework. And that'd be hard to explain to the John Q. taxpayer. So those are some missed opportunities that I see that came out of the session. Am I disappointed? No, ma'am, I never get disappointed. I just know I got to work harder to help people see. I think if they see this data, they can't help but say, you know what, we need to do something about this. So I take it as a challenge to advocate even more and advocate even harder and increase the net that we try to capture people's attention with the data that we just showed. So that's where we are on that, ma'am. I hope I captured what you want me to capture with the missed opportunities.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And celebrations, of course, some of the seniors we've been serving meals this month. We continue to go through this month, and so far for the first 3 weeks, we served almost 61,500 meals to students and children in our community. Our learning instructional framework that we're launching next year, we had a Summer Institute on that. We had teachers come from 1 day apiece, principals, assistant principals, instructional coaches, and other instructional leaders in the building. I went through 3 days of training on how to support the new framework implementation in that building starting next year. Of course, school supply lists and uniform information are now available on our website. And we sent that information also to families through our communication tool. Any questions?
Board members, any questions, Superintendent? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, board members, We will take a few minutes before we start our regular meeting. Can we, if everybody's okay with that, can we get a, motion to it? You got anything else?
It's work session.
Oh, this
Don't need a
work
motion.
session. I've been sitting up here so long. I will leave. We will, but we'll have are you thinking about actions
We can do that.
after,
Yeah.
at the end? Okay. Board members, we're gonna take a few minute break before we start our board meeting, regular board meeting. Thank you, board members, for waiting a second. Okay, board members. Consideration, thank you for coming back to the regular meeting for the Dougherty County School System. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any more presentation or public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, board members, I would like to get approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting held on June. Oh, child. Can you please stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance? I'm glad I got a superintendent that jumped forward. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, now back to regular scheduled program. And get approval of the minutes, consideration approval for the minutes for the regular board meeting held on June 11th.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of, what date was that?
June 11th.
June 11th, please.
Second motion.
I was trying to make sure I put that on. Consideration record, we're gonna do a consent agenda with including the addendum.
You didn't carry that motion.
Carry the motion. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm already out the door. I'm good in the community. Oh, thank you. Do you hear me? Appreciate you guys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Well,
Okay. Cause you know I ain't got but one page today.
Slow down, Bill.
I know you said you wanted to get out.
No, I said slow down.
Okay. Okay. This way. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
It's been properly moved in second. Adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, do we have any changes for the regular board meeting minutes for June 11th? I just want to make sure that there was no, because I'm
you did it already.
all in protocol now.
You good.
All in okay, do I have a motion? We're gonna go and start from the beginning to make sure I don't miss a thing. Ms. Hurley's first, motion, Ms. Heath seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now we're back on schedule. Consideration of recommendation for the consent agenda, which is 2, consideration of employment, 3, and the addendum.
Can I give up? Okay, can I leave to that?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do 2, including 2A, the addendum.
I thought
3,
this was 3.
4, 5, 6, including 6C, which is student attendance protocol, which is previously listed under 9B, and then 7, and that's it.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Madam Chair? Oh, second.
You motion?
I motion.
It's second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Mr. Superintendent, can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we enter executive session. I second.
All in favor? Personnel and
Personnel and litigation.
litigation. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're not in executive session. Officer Frazier, will you please allow everyone to move? Please take your belongings with you.